My brother is a danger to society. Well, probably. Hey, hi, hello. This is going to be a short story time draw with me type of video. At least that's what I'm going to be titling this. This is just going to be more venting than anything. And I just want to put a big trigger warning. There's going to be a lot of talk of, suicide and sexual assault. So please click off this video if you think this would trigger something with you. And I'm just going to explain the very beginning to give context and to not completely villainize my brother, because there are so many reasons as to why he is the way he is, and there's just a lot of context, so please hang tight. So, very long time ago, when I was in 7th grade, which was 5 years ago, my mom attempted suicide, and my brother and I walked into the bathroom where she was laying in the bathtub. And I'll go into more depth and maybe another video, but I should probably give context as to why she did that. All my experiences involve context upon context, so I'm sorry for that. But anyway, she suffers from bipolar disorder, which is like a depression disorder, and at the time, my mom was putting everything first rather than her health, and this is combined with the fact that she was not taking her medication because there was just a lot going on, and this caused her to think that my brother and I do not need her, thus she must, remove herself from this planet. She thought she was a burden to us and that she was selfish for continuing to live on. Of course, that's not true, and she's been taking her medication every day, and she's so much more better now. But anyway, at the time, she was positioned in the bathtub and was laying on one of her legs, which caused all the nerves to die in her leg. This was known as, or is known as, compartment syndrome, and this was just a very traumatizing experience. But after a couple of months knowing my mom was okay and alive, my brother and I lived as if it never happened and as if it never affected us. However, although we thought we were over it, it did affect us subconsciously. I mean, of course. As she was recovering in the hospital, we lived with our dad for 2 years, and my dad gives absolutely no discipline whatsoever, like nada. And he treats us like quote-unquote adults, whatever that means. And at the time, I was 13 or 14, and my brother was like 10 or 11, and I feel like at that age, 10 or 11 is just such a prime age of a child soaking in their surroundings and developing their personality. So during this time, my dad gave my brother a shed, which was quite large, and built in an AC unit for him with a bed and all of his 6 computers lined up. Not 1, not 2, but 6. The only time I really saw my brother was when he needed to go to the bathroom, and sometimes he would just pee in the 2-liter bottle, which is absolutely disgusting. But he basically had his own apartment paying no rent, essentially. I'm just going to do a time skip to my mom getting back custody to us, which was a very long, grueling, and upsetting time. But I'll get into another video about that. My brother and I never had a good relationship, and I hated him then, and I still do, even more so. We would constantly get in fights, and even once it got very physical, and I was like in a chokehold in the end, and my mom would have to break up the fights. However, the dynamic has changed. This is when Tyler, my brother, is around 13 years old, and he and my mom were starting to get into verbal fights, and I had to be the one to kind of help shut it down. Sometimes I even had a one-on-one talk with my brother to help calm him down, which is something I very rarely did, and so it worked temporarily. My mom and my brother were getting into verbal fights because my brother was not doing well in school. He was not listening to my mom, and he would always manipulate her to get what he wanted. My brother would try to bargain with my mom to get back his gaming privileges, and it did not work for long. He would either not keep up his side of the bargain, stay on games for too long, which was not part of the deal, and would argue with my mom to stay on longer. He would be caught with big lies, small lies that doesn't even need to be lied about, or just doesn't make sense. He would brag about how he got away with lies or how he manipulated people from the past because he knows how he won't get in trouble since he didn't get caught at that time. For example, my brother in 2nd grade obtained $100 from a kid who probably most definitely stole money from their parents by selling colored pencils and Beyblades, okay? Tyler's intentions at the time were sort of pure because he wanted to give the money to my mom, who was struggling financially. But it's important to note that he learned how to manipulate people at such a young age. A more recent example of manipulation from him is getting a job from this very old couple to build a website for them. Since the couple did not have any knowledge on building a website or even like the rates of building one, he was going to charge them $3,000, okay? Like with no, he didn't even graduate high school yet. He's 14 and he has no degrees. And $3,000, even with degrees, I don't care who you are, I'm not paying $3,000 for a website. I'm gonna just use Wix because that's free. But anyway, he was bragging how he got this deal. And another important thing to mention is that my dad helped my brother connect him to this couple. Since my brother is 14 years old and he wants to be paid under the table, the deal did not happen. And at the time, my mom and I were just questioning his morality, because why would you want to take advantage of people who are not knowledgeable about this stuff, and you know it, and you know that it's wrong? Of course, it didn't happen, but it just goes to show that it just goes to show that there's a pattern here, okay? There's just so many other examples, but I really need to move on for time's sake. But this was just the beginning of this strained relationship between my mother and my brother. My brother has gone progressively worse over the 6 to 8 months, and my mom's health is declining physically and mentally by the day. And my brother wants to get what he wants, even at the expense of her health. And their verbal arguments have gone so much more intense. Here's a good example. There are 4 holes in my mom's door. My brother has straight F's in all his classes and has not been attending school, so my mom would take away the computer at 3:45, which is when school ends, but he's just playing games at the time he should be at school anyway. And she can't really do anything about it because she has to run errands, she has to go to her doctor appointments. She can't constantly keep an eye on Tyler 24/7. That's just not realistic. And their arguments are just so repetitive. Like, my mom says, get better grades and attend school. And my brother says, well, Teams was down, or you didn't give me my headphones so I couldn't go on and I can't hear my teachers without them. They're just stupid excuses, especially the headphones one, because I can hear his online friends and him talking. So of course he can hear his friends. So it's just another lie. I know it. My mom knows it, and my brother knows that we all know it, but he still chooses to hide behind that excuse for some reason. And when my brother does not get what he wants, he runs away. I don't know if that's like the right term to use, but like he walks out of the house for hours and doesn't come back until late at night without any notice, or like without telling my mom like where he's going. He sometimes goes to his girlfriend's house where the girlfriend's dad lets my brother come in despite my mom telling the dad like he's not supposed to be there, he's grounded. And he would just respond with, well, I'll just let him in for a couple hours and I'll make sure he gets home. But that's just going against another parent's parenting, and that's just not okay. Quick note here. All of the men in my brother's life, which are very few, have let him to do what he wants and does not hold him accountable for shit, okay? The 2 men being my father and my brother's girlfriend's father. I'm leaving a lot of details out, but it's not that important for right now. But my brother has been lashing out a lot recently, and police were called at least 15 times and nothing was done. And nothing was done even when he molested me, but that's just another video. The police are just fucking useless, you know? My mom's mental health can no longer take his mental abuse to her, and my dad can't take him because he has no custody of us, and my mom's friends can't take him because they have daughters, and she's worried he might do something to them. My grandma can't take care of him because she's in another state, taking care of her husband who has cancer. My other family members are all disowned because we all have bad blood with each other, and facilities only take him in temporarily and only make him worse. I mean, come on, there's no resources for him. There's no permanent resources because my mom is unable to take care of him for much longer because it's just taking such a toll on her health. And even when my mom says she gives up on him, she really does care for him. And because if she really did quit on him, she won't be constantly arguing with him to go to school or looking for him when he runs out of the house, not telling her where he's going. When I vent my anger to my mom about my brother and tell her to just give up and stop trying, she cries and says that that's my son and my responsibility. She cares about him, and she knows that she can't take care of him because she can barely take care of herself. And it's important to remember that my mom has compartment syndrome, which means she's unable to walk well, and that she's also got arthritis in her back and hands, so she's very, very prone to falling. And her last 2 falls resulted in her breaking her ankle. There was this one time that my brother and mom were arguing, and he got in her face a lot, and he kept backing away. And there was like a vacuum near, so she tried to separate herself from him using it, because like he was like threatening her, and she felt threatened. So yeah, but my brother grabbed it to try and pull it away from her, but she does not let go because she was like in a corner and didn't want my brother any near as much as he was. And this led to the vacuum hitting my mom's head really hard. Now, I just want to point out, I did not witness this scene. I was not there. And I'm just telling it how my mom said. And another instance is when my brother is arguing with her and she wants to lock herself in the bedroom. He would always push on the door to get in, but my mom is done with the conversation and only wants to be left alone, and in turn leaves him pushing the door and hitting my mom's foot, the same foot that is affected by compartment syndrome. Although he did not purposefully try to hurt her, his aggression, his aggressive persistence continues to be a danger to her. And now the tipping point as to why I wanted to make this venting video in the first place is because Tyler did something purposefully to try to hurt her. Okay, so my mom wanted to get my brother's phone at night because she knows he will be on it all night and miss school due to lack of sleep. My brother was pretending to sleep, so she poured like a little water on him, which he jolted up and started to scream. I mean, okay, Mom, that was not the best idea. It could have been, done another way, but it just does not excuse what his later action was. And my mom got back in her bedroom to try to sleep, but my brother poured water near her door and started to say, "I hope this bitch falls," repetitively. I know this because I heard it. He wanted her to fall. And my mom's dresser is quite low and it's near her door, so if she were to fall, she would probably hit her head on the corner. And just falling in general could lead her to a concussion or maybe even death because she's just so fragile. It really pisses me off because my brother always told my mom, "I won't ever hurt you. You know me. I would never purposefully hurt you, Mom," end quote. But that night, I guess that just fucking flew out of the window, I guess. Thankfully, I heard the splashing and I quickly dried up the water with a towel and told my mom to be careful when walking out if he splashes some more again. It just sucks that I can't do anything, because if I were to try to protect my mom, if I were to try to beat his ass or something, he would always claim that he'll call the police on me for assaulting him, which is also kind of sad because I'd probably be in more legal trouble than anything. But he hasn't gotten in trouble for molesting me. But, there's that. I also kind of glossed over how he treats my mom. Like, I said that they get into heated arguments, but, like, he would always call her, like, bitch, cunt, piece of shit, crazy, and just a lot more insults. My mom has gotten immune to it, but that just makes it more sad, honestly. But I also kind of find it funny that he told my mom, quote, "Just give up. Everyone else would have given up, but you don't. So just give up," end quote. Like almost verbatim. It sounds more like a compliment, but his tone definitely did not mean it in that way. So I did quickly mention my sexual assault encounter, which I will discuss in another video. But for him to do that means that he's not mentally well. I'm not saying he's batshit crazy, but I'm just saying he has traumas and mental disorders that made his brain not well. I don't really know how to put it in a way that's like not offensive, because a lot of people have mental disorders, my mom being one of them, but she's like one of the sweetest, okay, maybe not sweetest but like one of the like best people in my life. Like, I look up to her, like she's my role model, because she has so many things that are going against her, but she still strives to be a better person at the end of the day. She's not perfect, but she still tries to be the best person that she can, and that's all that matters. But Tyler, he just doesn't care anymore, and as of right now, he's diagnosed with ADHD, which is why he has like impulsive actions. My mom has like a long history of bipolar disorder, so he may have that, but doctors say he's too young to determine that and need more time to evaluate it. I'm also not a psychiatrist or have any medical background, as I am an 18-year-old living in my mom's house, but I think he might have sociopathic tendencies. Not saying he's a sociopath, but I'm just saying sociopathic tendencies. Yes, I used Google, but the internet is a wondrous place, okay? Sometimes. Some of the characteristics: lack of empathy. A good example is when he sexually assaulted me and verbatim said, quote, "I'm sorry. Please don't tell mom I'll do anything. I'm sorry." End quote. Which means he is not sorry, that he is sorry he got caught, not because he's sorry what he did to me, or just genuine about it, but he's genuinely sorry that for himself. He's also one of the most selfish people I know, next to my father. But anyway, another characteristic is having difficult relationships. Obviously, my mom and him are not having a healthy relationship. He shit talks my dad and brags how he uses and takes advantage of him. My brother has no friends and has been in many fistfights at school in pre-COVID times. The only relationship is with his girlfriend, but it's more like an obsessive kind, which is also not healthy. Another characteristic is manipulation, where, he seems charismatic, and it's shown when the police come, when there's like an altercation with him and my mom, and he talks to the police, and they would either be on his side, which is, it happens sometimes but not often, or like they would treat my mom as if she was the one out of line, or that they gave him a great talk and he's gonna be a better person from now on. Another characteristic, callousness, which means being openly violent and aggressive and having cruel disregard for others' feelings. Cough, cough, my brother. Another characteristic is impulsivity. I mean, the list goes on. I think I made my point here. The thing that I'm worried about is that my brother will be 18 in 4 years and will be moving out to the world, moving out to the people who could be affected by him and his actions. Although I hate him, I still want him to be a better person because I don't want others to be negatively affected by his actions. He's done something to me that is so unforgivable, and he could do the same to others if that's what he wants. It's his way or the highway. Police have came countless times and has done nothing. So if he actually becomes a danger to society, I blame the police, the justice system, the facilities who have only made him worse, and my father. So I don't really know how to end this off because this was sort of dark and gloomy, but I hope you have a nice day and make good choices. Ciao!